when I saw this article, right? 19 families acquire 90 acres of land, right, outside of Georgia to create a safe haven for Black people. So that's the first article I want to start with. Then we will get into the second stimulus, as well as if you are one of the government employees who cannot, right, who cannot opt out of the payroll tax by President Trump, what do you do and how you will see a big deduction in your paycheck come January of 2021. So these are the three topics that I will discuss. So let's get right into this one. 19 families acquire 90 acres of land to create a safe haven for Black people. What a wonderful, wonderful thing, right? Uh, Black dollars, Black money is power, right? He who holds the land holds the wealth. So they're creating a safe haven. It's a great thing to do in these economic times. Ashley Scott, as they say, like many Black Americans, felt the distraught after witnessing the deaths of multiple unarmed Black civilians, right? Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, uh, and so it says by police officers and white vigilance. And so, as a protest and reform, they decided to take a different approach. This is a great thing, right? I've been telling people that Black economics, right, when pulled together, will stop a lot of this racial injustice and killings and murders, right? And also, right, also, I want to bring this out to you all as well that if a lot of African Americans, right, had life insurance policies in place, right, and these unjust killings and murders had to be paid out by the police department, a lot of these killings and murders and injustice would stop, right? He who holds the money holds the power and holds the answers, especially to racism, right? Especially to racism. If you want to stop racism, then begin empowerment financial moves like this. So, as the article reads, we are dealing with systematic racism. We are dealing with deep rooted issues that will require more than protesting in the streets. It will take us as a people, right, and minorities, um, as Atlanta rapper and activist Killer Mike so eloquently put, to plot, plan, right? Plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. This is also a quote from Malcolm X as well. So to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize, right? And mobilize. So Scott purchased 96.71 acres of land in Georgia, Toomsboro, Georgia. Toomsboro, Georgia. I think Toomsboro, Georgia. Hope I pronounced that correctly. For a new initiative, have 19 Black families create self-sustaining community after attending several local city council meetings and learn about local zoning laws, right? And so after they learned about the local zoning laws, it motivated them to take a deeper look into local politicians and how cities are created. And they brought together a cityhood to change their community and to build real Black power, right? Real Black power. So this is a great thing. It really reminds me of the Black Wall Street movement, and with Labor Day approaching, right? It's a or Labor Day has come and gone, right? It's not approaching. I'm sorry. is has come and gone. A lot of that has to do or in Tulsa, Oklahoma, about the devastation of the Black Wall Street, right? So this is somewhat of reminding me of that concept, right? You're exactly correct, Curtis. Power economics, the foundation of Black business, right? Uh, Living with Sim Water says land in California is like, oh, that's wonderful. Yes, with my home-based business, we have investing opportunities out of Antelope, California as well. Warren Buffett and NASA, and the Olympics is also investing in Antelope, California, and that's also one of the four pillars of wealth opportunities within my home-based business. So, Curtis, you're absolutely correct. It's time to power economics has to be foundation, right? Because I think, let me see, let me read the numbers so I can be accurate, as accurate as I can, and not thinking. Um, it's about 42% of Black businesses as of right now due to the impact of this health pandemic, right? Stating that 42% of Black businesses, small Black businesses, and African Americans are out of jobs, right? So they have been hit the hardest. In fact, it took 10 years for African American employment, right, to reach a prime age workers, which is between the ages of 25 and 54, to go from 66 to 76%, right? And these gains will be totally lost, totally evaporated. And I also expect Black unemployment or to peak, maybe the unemployment rate for Blacks, right, to peak at 30 to about 42%. And when you compare these rates to Hispanic workers who are currently at 22 and 41%, right, that's a big peak. Again, Black unemployment rate will average at 30 to 42%. And then when comparison to Hispanic, another minority group, which is at 22 to 41%, right? And so it's just the ups and downs of the business cycle, the racial gaps in the labor market, right? And real incomes fall more quickly, right, for Blacks and or African Americans than any minority group, right? And so we, as minority Blacks, have a real issue here that we're facing in this economic uncertainty or recession that we're currently entering, right? So just a little information to share with you as well. Black Wall Street, the devastation of it. But I love this is what the families are doing in Georgia, mimicking that. And that's why I always come before you faithfully about getting your credit in position so you can get capital, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma, an affluent African American community, right? Threat as white dominated American capitalism in 1921 destroyed Black Wall Street. It's a massacre, right, or referred to as a massacre. And so 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street, one of the most prosperous African American communities in the United States. But on May 31st of 1921, right, whites in the area refused to wait, and unprecedented racial violence that was what's the word? A black man was reported for raping a white woman, right? So whites in the area, or allegedly, that's the word I was thinking of, raped the white woman, and whites in the area refused. They protested, right? Pretty much protest is the word. African Americans are not the only ones that protest, right? And so the white lady's name was Sarah Page. The black man's name was Dick Rowland. And so 35 city blocks went up in flames. 300 people died and 800 were injured, right, in defense of a white female that expressed a motivation of racial violence. And so this is how Black Wall Street went down, right? The deaths, the prosperity of it, 1921. So this is some pictures of what that looked like. These African Americans' economic status could not save them, however, from racial hostility of that day. But it was a beautiful thing, and this closely reminds me with the 90 plus acres of land in Georgia, something similar to that in this time. So I love that, right? And Curtis says, you cannot build wealth without capital and credit. You're absolutely correct. And why is that, right? Why can't you build wealth without capital and credit? Because when money or cash is printed, right? Cash is printed through a debt system. If you look on any cash that you hold, it reads or it states that this note is a legal tender for all debt. So debt is cash. And if you cannot get a hold of debt, right, to invest in real assets, you will never be able to become richer and eventually wealthy, right? Because, as I have in my background chart, investors use debt, right? The bank's money, and they use it at 0% interest to invest. Meaning they pay, well, not 0% interest, right? My credit card is 0% interest, but they use it at little to no interest in order to get higher rates of return on the assets. However, the big thing, or the power in it, is that debt is not taxed, right? A lot of the poor working middle class or the financially uneducated think that taxes is their biggest stealer of wealth. That interest rates are their biggest stealers of wealth. That's your second biggest stealer of wealth. Your first biggest stealer of wealth is taxes, right? And so when you borrow from the banks and use the bank's money to invest and not your cash money, right? Not your labor money, you are not taxed on that loan. And also you get tax write-offs, right? You get tax write-offs. So just want to bring it out. Thank you, Jesus. He's welcome everyone in. Curtis says, a well-run small business allows people to retain wealth. That's true. You have to have, most people don't know the difference between cash flow and income, right? Income comes in form of a paycheck that's highly taxed. Cash flow comes in forms of business income, and it could be earned passively and residually, right? And it is taxed less, right? Also, you get paid first from passive income and residual income, and you get taxed last, meaning you file taxes on that income at the end of the year. Unlike a paycheck in which you get taxed first and get paid second, then you file taxes again for it at the end of the year. So you get taxed twice through a paycheck, right? Your state, your federal taxes, your Social Security, Medicare comes out first, and then you get the leftovers, right? You get the leftovers, the crumbs that fall from the table. Then at the end of the year, you have to file taxes on that income. Then you get taxed again. You get double tax, right? And so if you don't find a way to keep more of the money that you are laboring for, that you're working for, then you will be working for the rest of your life. And obtaining financial freedom can never be acquired, right?